stand zebras. Now I'm going to use similar selection tools. So what do I want to do here? The background's a bit busy, so we want to reduce the busyness, and I'm not sure, I think I'd like the zebras to be a little bit more black and white than they are at the moment. So let's start off. What we want to do is pick the selection tool again, make it a reasonable size to begin with, and get most of the selection done. There we go. Just select the middle. Okay, reduce the brush size. As I say, all of these are JPEGs, so we're losing a little bit of the quality here. Just Control Z. So where I went off onto the edge, it actually selected everything. So Control Z just takes me back a step, which is quite handy. And we just want the hair along here. There we go. And just as we did before, what we're going to do is hit refine. And there's some obvious mistakes I've made. So this is definitely foreground here. This is foreground. Oh, and I can say no, that's background. There we go. And along here, matte. I want to basically pick these hairs along this edge. Let's just do it that far. And same going around the top here. There we go. And what I can do is, I quite like foreground, so I'll just pick here, and you can see it taking it back out to the edge of the hair. Same here. Same here. And you could spend a fair amount of time making that as good as you could. But same thing, I'm going to feather it slightly, so it's not too harsh. And we'll apply that. Same principle. I'm going to invert. So now I'm just looking at the background, and the first thing I'm going to do, I'm not going to bother with levels. You can see from the histogram it's pretty much all the way across. So the first thing I'm going to do is brightness control and just reduce the background slightly. I think that will do. And then I'm going to introduce a Gaussian blur. Now if I do it, oh sorry, delete that, I've done it again. Go to the background and then do the Gaussian blur, otherwise you get a blur of a brightness. Gaussian blur. Now if I just increase it, you see the edges here. If you pick preserve alpha, it will take it out to the edges, so you don't lose that edge. So if we look here, that's probably too much. So let's go back to nothing. That's where we were, and what I do is just bring it up gently until there's enough of it gone that it's not distracting from the foreground, but not too much that it becomes distracting in its own right. The problem is if you do it too much, you can start getting a bit of haloing around the edge. So bring it back, and just bring it back until you're happy that it's no longer a distraction. So accept that, and what I'll also do is I'll use a HSL to take the colour down a bit. You know, don't want it black and white, but again, it's just taking a little bit of the saturation out to concentrate on the foreground. We could also reduce the luminosity if we wanted, but again, I think my brightness has already done that for me. Okay, so that's the background done. We'll invert the selection. Now what I think I said that earlier is I think I prefer them a little bit more black and white. It's just my preference. So again, we'll come to here and we'll come to HSL again. And what we'll do is we're just two ways of doing it. We can either reduce the saturation, which I don't want them to, yeah, I could convert to black and white, but in this case I don't think we want a true black and white. So I'm just coming in. That's where we were. Let's just reduce it until we get a more traditional zebra. Can I call it that? That's probably far enough. And there we go. I think that's probably all it needs doing. Again, I would normally look at the eye, but because it's a JPEG, it's a little bit bitty, so I don't think we're going to get anything there. But normally I'd look at the eye, maybe sharpen it. But in this case, I don't think it matters. Let's just get rid of the edges. And there we go. Again, we can use the same trick of basically, trying to get this more on the third by giving it a little bit more space to the left. Again, whether that would work or not. And I can just use my in-paint tool to pick the right layer. That always helps. There we go. You can see a slight difference in colour there. So what I'll do is I'll go back, go to my history, go back, and what I'll do is I'll merge all visible items. So I've got just the one item there. That means it's all the effects are going to be taken over to that edge. So in-paint tool. There we go. That's better. There we go. So that's number 3 done. You can obviously do an awful lot more. You might. Let me just show you another technique you might do. Let's just say I've got everything here, but for some reason I'm finding that green distracting there. So what I'll do is I'll add another HSL, and what I'm going to do is take the saturation right down. So that's one way of doing it, but we've taken it out of everything. So what we do is go layer, invert. So now if we look here, where that was white, that's now black. So basically we've taken the layer and we've pretty much turned it off. And then we pick up our paintbrush tool, colour, and what we want to do is use white to just take that out. So I'll turn the hardness up a bit, so I'm doing it. And you can just see the colour reducing in that area. And maybe a bit there. And maybe that's a little bit less distracting. Because it's all about removing distractions. You don't want the judge pointing things out. Right, final one. This rather lovely gorilla. I'm going to do a different technique here. Rather than using the selection tool to select him, he's very hairy, but it's also very mixed up in the background. And what I generally find in these cases is just use a paintbrush to decide what you want to do. So the first thing I want to do is get rid of the colour out of the background here. It's much too green and bright. So again, I'm going to do a HSL, and I'm going to reduce the colour to something much lower in saturation. And as you can see, that's affecting everything, which is fine. And I might want to reduce the luminosity a little bit. There we go. But I only want it on the background, so I'm going to pick up a paintbrush. The layer always has a mask in Affinity, so you don't have to add a mask, it's already got one. And I'm going to pick a black paintbrush, and initially I'm going to put everything up: hardness, opacity, flow. And as you can see, as I just move the paintbrush over, it gives you a preview of what's going to happen. So basically, I just want to take everything out, and I find the easiest is just initially go over the edge. Okay, and it's quite hard to see where you've been. So if you hold the Alt key down, you can see here on the preview what you've done. But if I hold the Alt key, I can now just come in here and just, definitely paint everything of our main chimp out without having to miss bits out. There we go. And I'll just do that one more time to get a real black in there. There we go. Right, click on any part of any image and we'll come back. And now what we want to do is refine that a little bit. So I'm going to reduce my brush size. I'm going to pick white. I want to just come in here, and the bits I've overdone, I can just bring that back. So I'm now painting the mask back on and hiding. There we go. So I can just go around, and you can see it's quite quick, quite quick to do. There we go. And it doesn't matter in this particular case that because he's pretty much black or white in some of these hairs, it's quite nice. There we go. So that's fine. Now I might also want to do a Gaussian blur on the background, and basically we've already painted it in, so in essence we've created a mask. So if I hold the control key down and just click on the HSL layer, there we go. There's the selection, basically the outline here. So what I can do is use that selection now to create a blur, Gaussian blur, preserve edges, and just move that up slightly. So just taking the back out, not too much. It's already, we know they're in a jungle. We don't want to completely obliterate it, and that will do for that. Let's invert it. Let's talk about the gorilla here itself. I noticed when I was going through and putting the colour back, there seemed to be some blue in here. So again, I'm gonna take a HSL. Could use black and white, but no, let's just use a HSL and take it straight out. You can see the difference there. He really is black and white now, rather than that. He had a hue of blue. As you can see, if I increase it, there's the blue. So I can take this down, maybe not all the way, maybe just to about here, because everybody knows gorillas are black. But obviously want his eyes. So again, paintbrush, black to reveal. So basically I'm punching a hole in this mask and I'm just bringing the eyes back up to their former glory. So just the mere fact that everything else has been muted and bringing the eyes back give them a lot more focus there. Now we could, I'll show you yet another technique. We could just select these eyes. Now I could either use the in-paint tool and just go click, click. It doesn't really matter that it's, because it's black anyway, but we could refine it. This is quick mask. Let's just clear the selection. If I do use quick mask, I can come in here, and as before, red is not selected, and I can just come in here and just pick the eyes, and you can see perfectly well what you're doing there, and the same here. Let's just do that. That's another way. If I turn that off, you've got the selection again. So what we'll do is, again, HSL, and this time just increase the saturation slightly, not too much. Just go up a little bit. It's probably as far as I want to go. And remove the selection. So basically, that's going through the items Lou presented. Sometimes, I think on this one it particularly shows, I think on the night he had trouble selecting the background because it's so fussy and so awkward. Sometimes it's better just to go back to a paintbrush and you do the selection. And I've done that on a number of my own over time. Right, so what I'll do, let's see if the Horton effect works. Let's merge visible. So basically it's taken all those changes and it's made it into one image. There is a separate video on the Horton effect, so please watch that. But I'm going to just use my macro to try it out, see what it does. Don't think I like it, to be honest. Makes him look older. So if I just undo that step, no, I quite like the way he is. It's actually giving him more of a hazy outline. So no, I prefer him here. Obviously, a bit better selection around the edge needed, but I'm sure you don't want to sit there watching me do that. But it gives you a general idea. Right, let's just go back to, let's just select all these layers using the Shift key, and if I turn them off, turn them on, you get an idea of the changes made there. Okay, thank you very much.